for generations, like a praise singer, griot, jailer, shaman trickster, and spinners of dreams and visions. Like mystic magic messages in bottles. Like a prayer or a confession. For Artship is our canvas. Freedom of imagination precedes freedom of speech. We will prepare the way. Our ship, Artship. When did you realize you're an artist?
I don't know if I've ever have realized myself as an artist, as a self-image, but I did remember in high school during very troubling times, on the brink of insanity, creating cartoons and comics, panels of cartoons and comics as a way of communicating the things that were inside of me, and other people would say, oh, you are an artist, look what you were doing. But to me it was mostly for my own sanity, for my own kind of internal survival, if you will. And looking back at it, it looks, maybe I was making some kind of storyboard for some future idea of filmmaking, which certainly was not in my mind then, but that's what I do now at the age of 49, so perhaps there is that connection. I was storyboarding. I wasn't just making cartoons. Maybe I was storyboarding.
And what keeps you going? What inspires you?
Taking my life more seriously than I take myself, questioning my assumptions, putting myself through enough meaningful changes so I can continue growing and responding, challenging myself, staying in touch with certain artists' work that continues to inspire me and oppress me with their gorgeous work that I can never hope to aspire to, but I try anyway.
What artists do you love?
This tends to change with me, but for the most part I go back to the poets. 20th century Jean Cocteau, previous to that William Blake, Dante, and in the 20th century the cinematic poets like Cocteau and later Jodorowsky and Robert Bresson, all of these filmmakers I think really are poets to start with, and so they treat cinema as a poetic medium, I think. When it comes to watching the film, in an audience, you have an audience of 100 people, and each one of those people hopefully are developing their own thinking, their own responses, and their imaging processes, so that it's not just the movie on screen they're absorbing, but they're interacting with that and producing their own images. And it's a very important process to do that, to help nurture and resuscitate the imagination, because for the most part across the culture, the imagination is dying or has become dead already. And so it's this cinematic work that stimulates the imagination that I believe in the most.
And how do you see using Artship in the future?
I have a fantasy. My fantasy is to board the Artship with 100 or so other artists on a day when the Artship is seaworthy, and take a big trip across the oceans and develop a movie along the way to show on the different seaports around the world where we travel.
I can't wait. What is your wish, deep wish, your heart's desire?
To stay creative and to live the kind of life that supports the creative process. Creativity and art are oftentimes confused for the same thing, and so what I mean by creative is not always art. Art is a very small part. So anybody can be creative, and it's a process really of learning to be open to the things that emerge as they emerge and responding spontaneously and truthfully. It's like improvising, it's like making things up. As a kid, as a child, you know this, everyone knows how it happens. You just walk into a situation and respond most honestly and truthfully, and you find out where you are and who you are by how it is you're responding to the situation, to the people around you, and that's a creative process. And if you nurture that and allow the kind of life that allows emotional honesty and expression of yourself, then you form a foundation perhaps for the material by which art can then develop from, and you apply some discipline, some attention, really, serious attention, and begin then to create some art. But without living a creative life, I don't think any kind of living art can actually occur.
And tell us about your film Tragos.
I am very fascinated in the overlay between human consciousness and modern technology and how they affect each other. Tragos is a root word for the word tragedy. And I wanted to show a certain modern tragedy in this futuristic tale of a group of a tribe really, of urban techno-pagans who living in a futuristic time period where the government at that time was more restrictive about the kind of religious practice people could pursue. And they decided, and they were able to invent a virtual reality program to go practice their religious rituals in cyberspace. And this is what they did, and they were happy doing that until one of the tribal members who was not happy used this virtual reality device as a suicide machine. And her consciousness was assimilated into the program, stayed there. Meanwhile, she died physically, so there was a death. And the law came in because someone had died. Let's take care of this. The law intervened. And it turned out that the prosecuting attorney who was assigned to the case was also a fundamentalist Christian. And he decided to, in this story, to paint in the media this techno-pagan group as a satanic suicide cult. And so I was very interested in showing how the media paints and exaggerates situations as well, and also to show the tragedy, a cautionary tale of pursuing experience through artificial and technological means, and what drives a person or a group to do that? Are we losing the capacity for direct experience? So I see that as a tragedy, and I made the movie to have some way to show this as a cautionary tale, perhaps, to people who may be on the verge of doing that.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.
And thank you all for joining us.